Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC Game 1 in the books. It is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here, you there, here on this Monday night at 11:56. The William Haynes Show is live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. Really the only subject of conversation for tonight's show. The Rays losing Game 1 of a best-of-5 against the New York Yankees by a score of 9-3. This game was 4-3 Rays for the longest time, and then the bullpen, mainly John Curtis to be specific, let the game get away from the Rays. Really disappointing from a lot of standpoints. We had imagined that Blake Snell and Garrett Cole would kind of offset each other, and in a way they kind of did. It was Blake Snell going 5 innings of 4 runs, a couple of solo home runs in his 5th and final inning. So it was looking for a while that he was maybe going to work 5 innings, a 2-run ball, which is maybe what you would expect, but gives up those couple of home runs there at the end. And then for the Yankees, not quite as bad for, I guess, a Rays standpoint, facing Garrett Cole in the playoffs as in last year's ALDS. Cole tonight goes 6 innings, 3 runs on 6 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, and 2 home runs allowed of his own. So he certainly was not invincible by any means, and the Rays, obviously were able to rough him up. They had the lead, as I said, and they just really, kind of like the playoffs last year, they just, time and time again, that they just can't put runs up on the board, and that was one of the concerns, I think, going into this playoffs, is this team's ability to generate offense at various points in the game is just not there. I mean, there's times where they will run into, I guess, runs, for lack of a better term. Maybe a guy walks and then maybe a deep fly and there's 2 runs. But an ability to maybe get a guy to work a walk and then maybe steal second, you got a man in scoring position and then knock him in with hit. No, that's just, this team just has not been very good at that. All year we've been looking at the team with runners in scoring position, and it's so often it's maybe 1 for 8 or 2 for 10, something along those lines. Well, tonight they get 1 runner in scoring position and they go 0 for 1. It was Margot with the bases loaded, striking out with 2 outs, and you think maybe they'll pinch hit for him. No, they don't, and that was a crucial point in that game. Margot as well in right field in Petco Park. I mean, this is a guy, mind you, that spent a few seasons out in San Diego and looked absolutely lost out there in right field. There was a double to Luke Voigt that should have been ruled an error, and there was some other pop flies or flyouts that were caught for outs that looked kind of exciting in a negative way, where he looked like he was really struggling to bring those in. So I would say Margot, maybe tonight, one of tonight's big losers. The team left a total of 8 men on base. It was a lot of just, get a guy at first and then you can't do anything else. A couple of other notes before I get started. By the way, but even before I do anything else, anybody listening to the show right now, Rays postgame, we want to take your calls. We want to hear your thoughts. We have a line open for you. If you want to call, get on the air. It is 877-566-1020 with you, maybe for about an hour or however long it takes to get through this game. Much more negative outlook than maybe I was anticipating or hoping for. We have NFL football, but we'll save that, I think, for tomorrow, including a Bucs win over the Chargers. They advanced to 3-1, so that's all fine and good. And I'll check out the film on that tomorrow, and we'll get back to you with that then. So tonight really is just about tonight's Game 1 loss. And before I throw this out there, I believe this number is correct in the history of the best of 5, and I believe this is dating back to when the AL and NLCS was the best of 5. Whoever takes Game 1, whichever team takes Game 1 rather, wins the series about 70% of the time, and the Rays have been on both sides of that. I think one, if maybe not both times against the Texas Rangers, they took Game 1 and then lost the series. And if you recall last season losing Game 1 in Houston, and of course they lose that series in 5 games. And so now, I mean, it's obvious to really put it this way, but the Rays now are going to have to take 3 of 4 from probably the best team in baseball right now, save for the Dodgers. This is not the same Yankees team, mind you, that the Rays faced in the regular season, went 8-2 against. I know there was that 4-game series, 4 games in 3 days, and the Rays took 3 of 4 then, but and they had some of the cast of characters, but not quite everybody there. Now, this is the New York Yankees. LeMahieu, Judge, Hicks, Voit, Stanton, Urshela, Torres, Clint Frazier, and then Higashioka caught tonight. I think he's just going to be Garrett Cole's personal catcher from now on. I'm sure we'll see Gary Sanchez behind the dish most likely tomorrow. And I just want to throw this out there as well. We'll preview tomorrow's game at the end of the show. We have the announced pitchers through Game 3. It'll be Glasnow v. Devi Garcia tomorrow. We weren't quite sure how that was going to line up. Maybe they would throw out Tanaka in Game 2. No, instead, before this game, they announced that the youngster Devi Garcia is going to go, and he's a guy that has been electric for the Yanks this year. He's a 21-year-old right-hander from the Dominican Republic, and boy, has he been good. And then it'll be Morton v. Tanaka in Game 3, and then, of course, Games 4 and 5 right now are considered if necessary, so no announced starters for them yet. And with the no off days, it's going to get real hairy, I think, with both teams if it gets to those games. And for the Rays, you have to hope now that it gets at least to a Game 4 to give yourself a chance. So, again, 9-3 in Game 1. The loss to the New York Yankees, and I think it's kind of a shame that John Curtis and the Rays let the game get away at the end. The final score ultimately doesn't matter. A loss is a loss, whether it's by 1 run or 6, as was the case ultimately tonight. I mean, you're still down 1-0, but you give the Yankees all kinds of confidence. They're not going to be intimidated by the Rays. Their strategy is to have other teams be intimidated by them, and we know the Yankees, the bully big brother and all that, and this was a chance maybe to finally put all that to rest. And I don't want to sound too doom and gloom because we still have at least 2 more games in front of us. Again, at 8 o'clock tomorrow, it'll be Glasnow v. Devi Garcia, and I think ultimately you have to like that matchup in favor of the Rays. I think you can make a good argument that Tyler Glasnow is the best starting pitcher on this roster, but with Blake Snell and what he can do, he's a 4-pitch pitcher, and usually you like that a little bit better than a guy who really only has 2 pitches in his repertoire, and Tyler Glasnow, that would be the fastball and the curveball, and then I think about 2 or 3% of the time he'll throw the changeup out there. So for Blake Snell, gives you a bit better chance to get through innings with the fastball, the changeup off of that, and then the curveball and the slider. And I guess I'll kind of start with this, and this is something I've been kind of pounding the table. I don't know about pounding the table, but you get the idea that Blake Snell, he throws too many non-competitive pitches, and this has been his shtick for, I don't know, maybe the last couple years or so. Ever since that Cy Young season, he's just never really been himself. It's the fastballs out of the zone, just, again, non-competitive, easy takes. And now, as I said, I'm not sure if this is the best way maybe to explain it, but he seems like when he's on the mound, he wants to strike everybody out, and not in a good way. And it's so extreme that it feels like he doesn't even want opposing hitters to make contact off of him, whether it's, weak outs or even foul balls. I mean, he throws these sliders, these curveballs, so deep down in the dirt, so easy takes. And I said, come playoff time, expect hitters to put a good scouting plan together and just say, look, we're going to spit on these off-speed pitches and wait for him to float fastballs and changeups if they ever find the zone, and we'll knock the crap out of them. I think it worked to Snell's favor where he only walked 2, considering honestly how bad his control was. 84 pitches, 50 for strikes. He faced 23 men through first pitch strike to 16 of them. That ultimately looks a lot better than it was in reality. I'm scoring the games during the playoffs, and I noted that he had six at bats. He reached a 3-ball count and only walked 2 of them. So I guess that's ultimately a good thing. But I mean, just throwing again way too many non-competitive pitches. And as far as I could tell, I think 3 or 4 swing and misses through 5 innings on the off speed, which is absolutely atrocious. Note that he only had with the 4 strikeouts. I mean, it was just, he had the swing and miss to DJ LeMahieu in the first at bat, and then after that, the Yankees said, okay, we're just going to take them, make Snell throw the fastball, and they sat on it. They worked the walks, got the hits, whatever. I think everyone 1 through 9 reached base at least once. I mean, this was a pretty deadly lineup, and I had mentioned 1 through 9. This is a lineup that there's no easy outs. And I had not really considered that Gary Sanchez wouldn't be starting, and yet the backup catcher, Kyle Higashioka, hits a home run of his own. So, I don't know, there's no breaks to be caught. Clint Frazier, the 8-hitter, hits 1. That's what I mean. I think the first time in Yankees history they've played they've been in 50-plus postseasons. First time the 8 and 9 hitters both hit home runs, and of course, from all the other hitters. I guess I'll go to that now. The Yankees lineup, 1 through 9, it was DJ LeMahieu leading off, followed by Aaron Judge, and then Aaron Hicks. Luke Voit cleaned up, followed by Stanton, Urshela, and then a 7-8-9 of Gleyber Torres, Clint Frazier, and Kyle Higashioka. The defensive alignment for them, I'll throw it out there. The outfield from left to right, it was Clint Frazier in left, Hicks in center, Aaron Judge in right. The infield from third to first, Urshela at third. It was Gleyber Torres at second, or at shortstop. DJ LeMahieu started the game at second base, and Luke Voit, the first baseman. Higashioka did the catching for the starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. And for the Rays, the starting lineup, it was Yandy Diaz leading off, followed by Brandon Lau, Rosarena, G-Man Choi cleaned up, followed by Margot and Wendell, and a 7-8-9 of Adames, Kiermaier, and Mike Zunino. The defensive alignment and the outfield from left to right, it was Randy Rosarena in left, Kiermaier in center. In right field, it was Manuel Margot, and in the infield from third to first, it was Wendell at third base, Willie Adames at shortstop, Brandon Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first. Michael Perez did the catching for the starting pitcher, Blake Snell. Yandy Diaz, the leadoff hitter, was the DH, and I forgot to mention Giancarlo Stanton did the designated hitting duties for the New York Yankees. Standouts for the Yankees, I'll just throw this out there. LeMahieu had a couple of hits, worked a walk. Aaron Hicks goes 3 for 4. Urshela 2 for 5, and then outside of that, it was a lot of just one-hit guys. Also, the catcher Higashioka goes 2 for 4, and then for the Rays, I guess I'll really just go one by one, and then before we go inning by inning, we'll actually take a break before we go inning by inning and allow you guys to maybe drop in some calls. So we start off with Yandy Diaz, who did the leadoff duties and hit DH. He started off 0 for 4. He worked kind of a meaningless walk in the ninth, and we'll take a look at kind of his at-bats, but a lot of outs early in counts. It was a 1-1 count, a ground out to shortstop in his first at-bat. In the second at-bat, it was a 2-2 count, another ground out to shortstop. And this was still against Garrett Cole. The third at-bat, it was a 0-1 count. It was a ground out to third. And then his fourth at-bat, it was a 2-1 count, another ground out to third. So a right-handed hitter that was pulling the ball, all 4 times. And then, again, the full count walk in the ninth inning. So he finishes 0 for 4 with a walk. Leadoff hitter, you've got to be better than that. I wasn't impressed with him really all season. This is not the same Yandy Diaz that's the extreme exit velocity. This is kind of a new Yandy Diaz, I suppose, that has a lot of trouble, I think, seeing the baseball. And instead of swinging at stuff, he just takes a bunch of pitches. But the problem with that is he ends up taking a lot more strikes than you'd like. So as far as a leadoff hitter is concerned, you want more from him. We'll talk about the roster as well, I think, at the end, or maybe I'll do that before we go to break. Austin Meadows is back. I don't know if I mentioned that. We were on the air the last time on Thursday, and it seemed like he was going to be done for the season. Kevin Cash, the quote was, unless we do really well, we're not going to have him back, and we thought that would be like potentially World Series. No, he's back, and he actually took an at-bat in this game. It was a pinch hit. He looks fine, during BP, and I think he's been running the bases and things of that nature. So he's recovered really quick. I think they gave the credit to the cortisone shot and the team training staff working on him every day. So good to have Austin Meadows back. And the reason I bring that up is a potential candidate to replace him at the leadoff spot. Devi Garcia, let me just make sure, is a right-handed pitcher, I believe. So, they'd be going heavy lefties. Yeah, he's a right-hander. So we'll see what they do. And one thing I guess that reminds me of, usually against a right-handed starter, they'll maybe go 6 or 7 lefties. Instead, they split it just about right down the middle. I mean, they went righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. So five right-handers and 4 left-handers. And something that I hadn't really noticed, but I hear Dave Wills talk on the radio on WDAE on the broadcast of the games. It gets a starting pitcher specifically, kind of off balance. Like the time the Rays went 9 left-handers, it allows, and they went that was against the Red Sox. They went an opener day that day. But if it's all right-handers or all left-handers, it allows the starting pitcher, you're only getting one look, and you're throwing kind of the same pitches, and you can get in balance. For example, if it's the righty Garrett Cole and it was, all left-handers, he can just get comfortable and really find his spot throwing sliders down and into left-handers, which, by the way, he did very well, and then the fastballs up and away, and then just get consistent and get those pitches down. Well, if you go, righty-lefty, you're making him switch kind of his approach every at-bat and keeps him from settling in, and ultimately he still did just fine with those sliders down and into the left-handers and I guess, down and away. From right-handers and fool the crap out of them, and the fastballs, really the high upper 90s, really just blowing them by. Rays hitters getting a little bit flashbacks from games 2 and 5 of the ALDS last season, and I think ultimately the 5 games in 5 days will favor the Rays if it ends up going the distance, because the Yankees, their $325 million man is probably only going to pitch 1 game this series unless they put their prized possession on short rest, and probably the Yankees, with their eyes on the prize a little bit further past the series, may not want to do that. So hopefully this is just the one time you have to see Cole, and you can go to work against some of these kind of, I guess, average at best starting pitchers for the New York Yankees. So in case you're wondering maybe why they're doing the righty-lefty thing, that would be my explanation for that. So batting number 2 in the order, the second baseman, Brandon Lau. He goes 0 for 3, all 3 strikeouts, and then 2 walks worked. First 2 at-bats against Cole were both strikeouts, one on a 2-2 count and another on a 3-2 count. He worked a walk on a full count, and then worked another walk on a full count, and then struck out for the final out in the 9th inning. So saw a lot of pitches, but didn't really put the ball in play, and your number 2 hitter, and probably your team MVP, maybe a little more from him, but he ultimately reaches base twice, so I guess you're okay with that. Batting third, and probably the most exciting, the first Rays player ever to hit back-to-back earn back-to-back 3-hit games in the postseason. Randy Arozarena in left, batting third. He goes 3 for 4, knocks in a run, no walks, no strikeouts for him. He's now batting .750 through 3 games in the postseason. He starts the game off in the first inning with 2 gone with a home run on a 2-0 count, and that really set the tone. And then the next at-bat against Cole in a 2-1 count, single to right. Then his next at-bat, singled to right again, and then his final at-bat in the 7th inning. It was a hot shot off the bat, but it was a liner right to the shortstop, Torres. Batting cleanup, it was G-Man Choi, 1 for 3, knocks in a couple of runs and works a walk. His first at-bat on a 1-2 count, it was a pop-out. Then he hit a home run, his second at-bat on a 1-1 count against Garrett Cole, and a guy in his career, I think going into this game against Garrett Cole, he was 8 for 12, 8 runs batted in, 3 home runs, and just 2 strikeouts. So a guy that, historically basically has Garrett Cole's number, makes sense to have him in the cleanup spot. He gets a hit, again, it was the home run, and also works the walk in there as well. That was an intentional walk on a 2-0 count. and then in the 8th inning, grounded out to second base. Batting 5th, Manny Margot. Again, I said probably tonight's biggest loser. Well, you probably have to give that to John Curtis if we're doing an Impractical Jokers thing. I guess trying to keep it as light as we can. Margot goes 0 for 3 in the 5-hole, which that is a bit curious to me, but helps them with the righty-lefty thing if that was what they were going for. 1 strikeout, the game with the bases loaded, and 1 walk, and that really, I think, was the biggest deal. Grounds out to third his first time up, then flies out to left. Strikes out on a 1-2 count his third time up against Garrett Cole. So there you go, 0 for 3 against Cole. And by the way, that came with the bases loaded. It was Brandon Lau working a walk to get it started, followed by a Rosarena single. Then Choi gets intentionally walked, and the reason they do that, because they like their chances against Manuel Margot. And he does, I think, what you would expect and ends up striking out there and then works the walk in the 8th inning. And as well as I mentioned, it should have been called an error on the double to Luke Voigt, and he didn't end up coming across to score, so it doesn't bite you. But he really just looked lost out there in right field. And a guy that played a lot of games at Petco Park, probably more so in center, but you were hoping to get more from him, I guess, overall tonight, and gives you really nothing. Batting 6th, it was Joey Wendell. He goes 1 for 3, not really a whole lot there. A lot of outs I'm seeing early in counts. It's an 0-1 ground out to third, on a 1-1 count he singles to right, an 0-1 count fly out to center, and then he gets a fielder's choice on a 1-1 count in the 8th inning. So that was kind of his approach. It's getting pitches that he liked early in counts, gets pitch hit for by Mike Brasso. The fielder's choice actually was by Brasso. Willie Adames next in the order. This is the 6th hole. He goes 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. I didn't put the ball a whole lot in play. He actually did see a lot of pitches per at-bat, really. His first at-bat on a 3-1 count, single to left, then strikes out on a 2-2 count. Third at-bat, strikes out in a full count, and then his fourth at-bat strikes out in a 2-2 count. So, again, not really putting the ball in play, but working some counts, taking some good pitches. And that was one of the things, positives that I would have maybe against Garrett Cole. You recall those 2 starts against the Rays in the ALDS last year. Really just, swing and misses, just strikeout after strikeout after strikeout, not putting the ball in play. Well, the Rays, their approach was a little bit better. Brandon Lau was a guy that stood out to me, and that doesn't end up getting a hit, but works 2 walks, one of them against Garrett Cole, but saw a lot of pitches in every at-bat, even with the 2 strikeouts. I think he swung and missed at the slider down and into him, and then in his second and his third at bats, really ended up starting to take that pitch more, and that was, I think, really what allowed them to basically knock Garrett Cole out in 6 innings, and they get the 3 runs off of him, and that's all fine and good. I'm moving down on the list now. Kevin Kiermaier, he goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout. His first at bat, he flew out to left on the first pitch, and that was kind of what we noticed in the 2 games. The wild card set against the Blue Jays is he was swinging on the first pitch a lot, was not seeing a lot of pitches, and the guy towards the bottom of the order, and that's so good on the base path. You'd like to see him maybe try and work more walks and things like that. Then his second at bat grounds out to second on a 2-1 count, then strikes out on a full count, and then in the 9th inning on a 1-1 count grounds out to shortstop. And then to finalize it out, the starting order, Mike Zunino 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Really didn't give you a whole lot. 2-2 count strikes out against Cole, and then on a 0-2 count strikes out against Cole. And that's really, I think, what you're going to get with Mike Zunino. He's a good catcher, and boy, was he good at basically stopping some of those bad sliders and curveballs from Snell. And Blake Snell's off-speed pitches really challenged Zunino more than they did the actual Yankees hitters, which is kind of sad to say. And then one thing I was just going to throw that out there, as far as the lineup looked going into the game, looked pretty good, like they'd be able to get to Cole. Yandy Diaz was 5 for 12, that's a 4.17 average. Choi, again, 8 for 12, Margot 4 for 16, Wendell 3 for 11, Adames 4 for 18. Zunino 4 for 21, Kiermaier 2 for 13. So not necessarily great averages all the way down the list, but guys that have seen Garrett Cole a whole heck of a lot and kept Garrett Cole from earning a win against the Yankees, or against the Rays, in the regular season, against his first win against the Rays in 2020 here in the postseason, which, if that's kind of how the ball is going to bounce, and unfortunately, the Yankees catch the break, and again, the Rays now are going to have to win 3 of the next 4, so not a whole lot of margin for error. I think really at least over the next 2 games, you like what you have. Tyler Glasnow against Deivi Garcia. I'm going to give the nod to Glasnow, although Garcia has been good, and the Rays haven't really seen him, I don't believe, yet. And then in Game 3, definitely I'm going to give the nod to Morton over Masahiro Tanaka. I know Tanaka had a couple of good starts against the Rays, but I know had one stinker, and that seemed like maybe the Rays were kind of cutting the corner, or turning the corner, I should say, against Tanaka and finally being able to get to him. And then Morton, we haven't seen him, and it'll be like a week and a half. But a guy that's pitched in a lot of elimination games, including 2 for the Rays last postseason. So if it is an elimination game, that would be very unfortunate, but really no one I'd rather have out on the bump than Charlie Morton, even at kind of his advanced age. Just looking a lot different at 36 than he did at 35, but that's, neither here nor there, and we'll get to that. That game will be played no matter what on Wednesday, and we'll be here after all the games this week telling you all that you need to know. I'll tell you about, the pitchers. We'll go to break. We'll come back, maybe take some of your phone calls, go inning by inning, and then talk maybe the 3 other series that are going on right now in baseball, and then preview tomorrow's game and get up and out of here. The starter, again, Blake Snell, goes 5 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts on 6 hits, gives up 3 total home runs. And that was really what got him. It was the 2 solo shots in the 5th inning. It was, 1-2 Higashioka to get things started, and then a solo home run to Aaron Judge, and that was kind of the bugaboo for him. And the other one was a solo homer for Clint Frazier. So Kevin Cash had said, going into a series against the Yankees, the solo home runs are going to happen, and that's kind of what you wanted to limit it to. And ultimately they did, I guess, a fine job of doing that, but Snell, just too many pitches, I think, that got away from him, and again, the non-competitive pitches and all that. After he gives him 5 a 4-run ball, it was Ryan Thompson who looked very good in the wild card series, gives him 2 scoreless of 3 hits, that's fine. And then in the 8th inning, it was Oliver Drake giving them an inning scoreless. There was a fly ball that could have probably carried out. Lucky for the Rays, it didn't, but it didn't really matter. And then in the 9th, the 2 outs from Curtis ended up giving up 5 runs, the worst inning, I think, by far for the Rays this year. And man, what a shame that had to come on October the 5th, and that's just the way it's going to go. And then to get the final out for the Rays, it was Shane McClanahan, the first pitcher ever to make his major league debut in the postseason. That's at least of Juan Toribio, if it ends up not being true. That was coming from him, and he gets the final out. Gives up a hit and a walk, kind of a comedy of errors, but doesn't end up giving up a run, so that's fine. And also of note, Curtis threw 42 pitches. Not that we're really going to want to see him anytime soon, but he'll be able to play for tomorrow and most likely on Wednesday. And then everyone else, Thompson, 2 innings at 21 pitches. He could potentially be available tomorrow. And then Oliver Drake would be an inning of 14 pitches. And for Blake Snell, just one final note, I guess, from him, or at least for right now. Unless they make it to Game 5 and they decide they want to have him start, I would imagine if he does appear in Game 5, it would probably be behind an opener or in relief. But most likely, the way this series is probably going to go, I would anticipate probably him coming in relief, probably in Game 4, if not Game 5, and then they'll have Tyler Glasnow in relief, probably potentially for Games 4 or most likely 5 as well. So that's kind of how it's going to look with the no off days. No multi-start pitchers probably, unless either Cole or Snell starts Game 5. So a lot of starters in relief, and hopefully both Snell and Glasnow will be good at that. And for the Yankees, I don't think they're going to want to use Garrett Cole in relief, to be honest with you. Kind of their prized possession, and potentially 2 more 7-game series ahead of them if they do end up going all the way. So I think the Rays catch a break maybe in that regard. And for Snell, we've already seen him in relief twice already in the playoffs, and he looked pretty good in both of those outings. So you feel good about that. And that's really all I can say about that right now. At 12:23, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you, go inning by inning, really break down this game. We'll talk maybe some other playoff baseball, and then right before we get off the air, we'll preview tomorrow's contest, Game 2. It'll be Glasnow v. Deivi Garcia. So number to call during the break, 877-566-1020. And we'll give you some scores, and we'll be right back. HBC. Only other game in Major League Baseball playoff action today in Game 1 in Dodger Stadium. It was the Astros 10-5 over the Athletics. I believe the A's had a lead of 4-0 and also 5-2. They end up blowing that one. Tomorrow, the National League playoffs get started. It'll be the Marlins and Braves in Game 1, and also the Padres and Dodgers. The National Football League, a game from Sunday that got pushed to today. It was the Chiefs, 26-10 over the Cam Newton-less Patriots. It was Brian Hoyer getting the start, and then in relief came in Jarrett Stidham. And then on Monday Night Football, officially in Green Bay, it was the Packers, 30-16 over the Falcons. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 12:25, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Back end of the program, final 30 minutes or so. We'll tell you everything you need to know inning by inning for tonight's 9-3 loss, Game 1 of the American League Division Series against the New York Yankees. Number to call, if we have anyone listening at the moment, is 877-566-1020. We have a line open for each and every one of you that would like to call in and talk Rays. So we'll go to the top of the first without further ado. Blake Snell on the mound against the top of the order, against the top of the order for the New York Yankees. It was DJ LeMahieu in a 9-pitch at-bat, singles to center. Snell starts him off 0-2. Obviously the foul balls, the 3 balls, and then the single there. It was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball that kind of sat middle into him, and he turns on it for a single to put a man aboard, and I think they got a man aboard, the leadoff man aboard, in just about every inning, and I think 4 of the leadoff men ended up scoring in this game. LeMahieu gets to second base on a wild pitch by Snell, so already they get a runner in scoring position. Judge grounds out, which moves DJ LeMahieu to third, and that at-bat for Judge was a 7-pitch one. And then with a man on third and just 1 out, Aaron Hicks hits a sacrifice fly that scores DJ from third base, and then Voit grounds out to end the inning. So first inning for Snell, he throws 20 pitches, 13 of which were for strikes. Bottom of the first against Garrett Cole. Yandy Diaz starts out the game by grounding out to shortstop. It was a 1-2 pitch, and it was a slider away that Diaz got pretty good contact with, but pulled it right into kind of the shift and grounds out to short for out number 1. Then Brandon Lau strikes out swinging. He was started up off 1 and 2. They have it listed as knuckle curveballs, and Brandon Lau chased it 3 different times, or swung and missed twice and took one of them. And ultimately, the one that he struck out on was way down and in, but that pitch has some good movement for out number 2. And then with 2 outs, the base is clear. Randy Arozarena goes 410 feet to center to tie this game at 1. It was a 2-0 count. He took a couple knuckle curves, and then it was a 4-seam fastball kind of up and away to the right-handed Arozarena, and he sends that one out of there, and then Choi pops out on a 1-2 count. It was just a fastball that he kind of got too much underneath of to end the first inning. Top of the second, Blake Snell actually gets a 1-2-3. Giancarlo Stanton grounds out to Snell. Then Urshela flies out to right. It was Margot having a bit of trouble, but ends up snagging it. And then Gleyber Torres strikes out swinging, and that came on a 2-2 count. So gets a 1-2-3 inning there. He threw 15 pitches, 7 of which were for strikes. Bottom of the second inning, still against Garrett Cole. Margot grounds out to third. Wendell grounds out to third. Adames reaches via an infield single, and a 3-1 count. Was a slider that really just ended up being middle, and he gets to first base. And then Kiermaier on the first pitch flies out. Just a fastball right down the middle, flies out at the end of the inning. So the Rays leave a little bit on the bone there. Now to the top of the third, Blake Snell still on the mound, and he faces Clint Frazier for the first time and on a 1-0 count. It was a fastball that was just middle up, and Frazier takes him 4-18 to left to make it 2-1 Yanks. And then he gets 3 straight outs. The catcher Higashioka grounds out to shortstop on the first pitch. LeMahieu lines out on an 0-1 count, and then Aaron Judge on a 1-1 count grounds out to first to end the inning. But by then, Snell had relinquished the tie. Bottom of the third, Rays go down in order 1-2-3. Zunino strikes out. Yandy Diaz grounds out in his second at-bat. It was a 6-pitch AB. It was a fastball that was down and in, and all he could do was pull it. Again, grounds to shortstop. Started out 0-2, and then took a slider that was well away, took a knuckle curve down and away, fouls off a fastball, and then pulls the fastball ultimately for the out. And then Brandon Lau on the 6-pitch at-bat strikes out swinging. It was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball that was pretty much right down the middle, and Lau could not do anything with it. So then after 3, it was 2-1 Yankees. Top of the fourth, Blake Snell still on the mound. Got into a little bit of trouble, but got out of it. Aaron Hicks singles to center and a 2-pitch at-bat. It was just a changeup that was Hicks, I'm assuming, was batting righty, so it was kind of away from him, but hung a little bit. Then he gets Luke Voigt to strike out swinging, and it was a slider well down and in, and got Voigt to chase. Then he walks Giancarlo Stanton, starts him off 3-0, works the count full, and then it was just a curveball. And that's the thing. He's going to need to throw those really for strikes to get hitters to start chasing at them again, like they were maybe in 2018. So that moves Aaron Hicks over to second base. Urshela grounds out and moves the runners over. So it's Aaron Hicks at third, Giancarlo Stanton to second. So then a base hit basically would make it 4-1. Gleyber Torres walks to load the bases, just a 4-pitch walk, and I'm looking. It was a curveball down and in, and then 3 straight pitches that were just non-competitive, just too far away from the right-hander. So he walks to load the bases. And then Clint Frazier, a guy who took him deep the last time, he was up 2-1 and then ends up on a slider that just kind of hung really middle up, which was strange. Struck out swinging against them, and that was one of the 3 or 4 swing and misses that Blake Snell got on the off speed. And really for, I think, Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow, they're at the top of the major leagues as far as whiff rate, I think, on their off-speed pitches. And opposing hitters in the Yankees are just so good, and their scouting department and just their hitters are so talented. I mean, they're averaging probably about 10 runs a game right now in the postseason. I think they put up I think they averaged 10 against the Indians. It was like 10 in one game and 11 in the other. Now they put up 9 runs here tonight. I mean, their offense is just on fire, and they put together a really good plan against Blake Snell, and ended up being the difference. But they leave the bases loaded there in the fourth, and then in the bottom of the fourth, the Rays take the lead for the first time of the night. Randy Arozarena singles to right, so his second at bat gets the hit on a 2-1 count. It was a slider that just kind of was, kind of up and away a little bit, so that was strange, and he ends up turning on that one. And then Ji-Man Choi, 429 feet to center field, scores himself, and Arozarena makes it 3-2 Rays. Garrett Cole gave him 2 knuckle curves, and then the home run came on a 4-seam fastball that was down and away to the left-hander. Then Margot lines out. Wendell singles to deep right to get on. But then Adames strikes out and Kiermaier grounds out. So they leave a man on base, but they get the 2-run homer and take a 3-2 lead. Top of the 5th inning we go. Blake Snell's 5th and final inning, and this is really where it got a little bit hairy. It was Higashioka, the leadoff man, 417 feet to left. It was, not too bad. It was a fastball kind of middle into the right-handed hitter. So again, that makes it 3-3. G.J. LeMahieu grounds out to short on an 0-2 count. It was a curveball that just kind of hung middle, but ends up getting the out. Then Aaron Judge, a bit of a cheap home run, I guess. 374 feet to left on the first pitch. A curveball, another one that just kind of hung. So 2 solo home runs in the inning. That made it 4-3 Yankees, and that's how the score remained for a really long time. Then Aaron Hicks grounds out. Voit doubles, and that was where should have been an error on Manuel Margot, and just, I don't know, they're going to rule those hits in today's MLB. So that gets a man on second, and then gets Giancarlo Stanton a strikeout. So ends up getting kind of a big out there to keep it just a 1-run game, but the Yankees score 2 in the 5th and end up retaking the lead by a score of 4-3, and Blake Snell's day at that point was done. He ends up taking the loss, although, he kept the Rays in it, I suppose. 5 innings, 4 earned runs on 6 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 3 home runs, all solo shots, so that's good. 84 pitches, and only 50 of which were for strikes. Just wasn't there. I counted 6 3-ball counts, and only 2 of them were for walks, but just threw too many non-competitive pitches, as I said. And if we're lucky enough, we'll be able to, I guess, kind of moan and groan about another one of his starts like that in the ALCS. Nothing would make me happier than to be able to do that. So, and just another thing, his 5 innings, I counted. First inning, 20 pitches, 13 for strikes. In the second inning, a 1-2-3, 15 pitches, 7 for strikes. In the third inning, 8 pitches, 6 for strikes. That was where he gave up a solo home run, and then get the 3 quick outs. In the fourth inning, it got a little bit hairy there. It was they leave the bases loaded, I believe. It was 25 pitches, 14 for strikes. And in the fifth and final inning, 16 pitches, 12 for strikes. So outside of that fourth inning, not too bad. At the 84 pitches, he could have gone easily, probably 6 or 7 more innings. Well, I don't know about 7, but could have at least gotten 6. And I guess they didn't want him to finish the lineup the third time through. The Yankees, the first time through against him, got 2 hits, struck out once, no walks, ended up getting 2 runs. The Yankees order the second time through, and that was Snell and Thompson combined. The Yankees lineup got 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, and a run, so they did a little bit better against him. The guys that Snell faced the second time through got a ground out from LeMahieu, a solo home run from Judge, a ground out from Hicks, a double from Voit, and a strikeout of Stanton. So, did fine. And then that they wanted Thompson to face Urshela, Torres, Frazier, and Higashioka. So that was fine. Then also, I'll just throw this out there. The Yankees lined up the third time through. That was the last time I kept track of it. The third time through the order, they got 3 hits, a strikeout, no walks, and 1 run. So did, kind of most of their damage, I guess, at the first time through where they got the 2 runs against Blake Snell. So, ultimately was fine. Blake Snell, again, could have gone a little bit more, but they go to the bullpen. Ryan Thompson giving them the 2 shutout innings. And I'll save it for a little bit later. So Blake Snell was done after 5. Bottom of the 5th inning, against Garrett Cole, Mike Zunino strikes out swinging. Then Yandy Diaz grounds out to third. It was a swing and misses at a fastball, and then grounds out on a knuckle curve that just kind of hung. It was kind of middle and a bit into Diaz, and ends up just pulling it once again. That was all he was doing, was pull pretty much every time. And then the 2-out Rays strike again, this time playoff edition. Brandon Lau in a 7-pitch at-bat ends up walking. A really nice at-bat for him. He took a changeup away, took a knuckle curve in, took a changeup down and away, and then took a fastball a little bit high. So took some good pitches there in that at-bat. Gets a man on with 2 outs. Then Randy Arozarena. So that made him at that point 3 for 3. Singles to right, and then it was first and third. Lau with the hustle was able to get to third base. And I believe I mentioned it once already, but the first player in Rays history to record back-to-back 3-hit games in the postseason. And Randy Arozarena is a difference maker. Plain and simple for this team. Not as much tonight, but in the wild card series did it defensively, and then here I think really doing it offensively. And I think Dave Wills, as he had mentioned on the broadcast, they're going to need to get more offense from just 2 guys. It was just Arozarena and Choi really just produced the 3 runs, and they're going to need offense from guys like Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lau, And then, maybe get a couple of hits from Wendell, Adames, Kiermaier, and, maybe Zunino runs into one like he did in the wild card series. But I think at the top of the order, if Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau come through a little bit more, this game could have been different. And then Margot, curious that he bats fifth, and man, he was bad, and this is really why. Then Choi is intentionally walked to load the bases on a 2-0 count. They want to face Margot, just both non-competitive pitches to Choi, and again, that loads the bases to bring up Manny Margot. First pitch takes a strike looking a knuckle curve, then takes a knuckle curve for a ball. It was really right down the middle, but it was a cross-up that ends up being called a ball. And then two swinging strikes. It was a fastball at 98, blew it by him, and then Garrett Cole pumping out 100 with the bases loaded and 2 outs, and Manny Margot couldn't do anything with it. And that's what's going to happen. A guy like Margot, he's come through, and he's ultimately been kind of a fun player and good for the team, but he doesn't stand a chance against 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Garrett Cole, and that just shows that's the spot the Yankees wanted. And in a 4-3 game, if Margot comes through with the bases loaded, that reclaims the lead, makes it 5-4 in favor of the Rays, and who knows, maybe Wendell or Adames come through, and then that could have made the game completely different. Instead, they leave the bases loaded, and Garrett Cole gets out of the fifth. Top of the sixth, Thompson comes on, Urshela singles, then Torres grounds into a double play. Brett Gardner pinch hits, and he gets hit by a pitch. Then Higashioka grounds out to leave him there at first base. Bottom of the sixth, Gardner, by the way, moves over to left field for Clint Frazier. Garrett Cole gets a 1-2-3 inning in his sixth and final inning. Wendell flies out to center on a 2-pitch at-bat. Then he strikes out with Adames and Kiermaier. For Adames, 7-pitch at-bat, not bad. And for Kiermaier, 6-pitch at-bat. And so, they saw some good pitches, but both struck out swinging. For Adames, it was a fastball, not 99, blew it right by him. And for Kiermaier, it was a fastball up and away from the lefty at 99. So, the Rays, as they did in the ALDS, just couldn't catch up to the Garrett Cole fastball there. And that ended Cole's day at 6 innings pitched. 3 runs on 6 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 2 home runs allowed, 97 pitches, 60 for strikes. And then also of note, exactly 50%. Faced 26 men and threw a first pitch strike to 13 of them. And I mentioned that really maybe for the Rays lineup more so than, the Yankees and Garrett Cole, of course. But the Rays take a lot of first pitches and at-bats, kind of the Mike Trout approach. But just, I don't know, too many of them can be taken for strikes, and that really came later in counts. Not too many strikeout lookings, which was good. You hate to see those. And for the lineup that the Rays fielded today, did better, I think, than expected. That's what we talked about. Garrett Cole and Blake Snell probably canceling each other out. After 6 innings, it would maybe be a tie game or a 1-run game. And it was just that. After Garrett Cole left, and Snell had pitched or had left an inning earlier, it was 4-3. It's a 1-run game, so Snell ultimately didn't get the better of Cole, but kept it close. And the Rays bullpen really just couldn't keep it together. And also the Rays lineup against Cole, and I'll just give it to you. They pretty much got through the lineup perfect 4 times through. The first time through the order, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks, and 1 run. That came on the home run for Arozarena. The second time through the order, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, no walks, and 2 runs. That came on the 2-run shot, the 2-run shot for Ji-Man Choi. The third time through the order, and this was against Garrett Cole again. It was 1 hit, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, no runs. So Garrett Cole basically getting better as the start went on. And then against the bullpen, against Chad Green, Zach Britton, and Luis Sessa combined, the Rays go no hits, a strikeout, 2 walks, and a run. So they didn't even see Aroldis Chapman, and Ottavino has not been good, but he's in the 8 bullpen as well. So that's how the Rays lineup did. So ultimately, they do a good job of getting to Cole. Didn't really work the walks, maybe as they have in the regular season, and the lack of base runners prevented them from doing things like stealing and whatnot, and they weren't really able to hit with men on, and ultimately that I think was a big part of it. I think we're talking about a lot different ball game if John Curtis just can get through that what is it, the 8th or 9th inning scoreless, or it was the 9th, but he couldn't, and instead it's a blowout, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Top of the 7th, Ryan Thompson on for second inning. Did we? Yeah, so it's kind of the same. He got another double play. LeMahieu, leadoff single. Then Aaron Judge grounds into a double play. Aaron Hicks reaches on an infield single and then gets Voit to fly out. So good for Thompson. I mean, gets through 2 innings relatively quick. 2 innings, just 3 hits, nothing else, 21 pitches. So he'll be available tomorrow. Got the top of the order as well. So hats off to him. He's been absolutely lights out this postseason in what I think has been maybe 3 or 4 innings of scoreless baseball. So good on him, really having a good heck of a postseason his first time around. Bottom of the 7th for the Rays, Chad Green on for Garrett Cole. And Mike Zunino was due up, but they go with Austin Meadows, the man who made the roster. We find that out this morning. And Chad Green gave him nothing but fastballs, all 5 of them. And ends up striking out. It was a fastball at 97 that was kind of down and away from Meadows. Ended up chasing it and couldn't make contact. I mean, yeah, it was all 96, 97 mile-an-hour fastballs, and Meadows couldn't catch up with it. He hasn't had an at-bat in a little bit, so, pinch hit appearance, not ideal for Meadows. Couldn't come away with anything. Then we go back to the top. Diaz again pulling the ball in a 2-1 count. It was a curveball kind of middle down to Diaz, and he grounds it to third. Then Brandon Lau works a walk in a 6-pitch at-bat, and then Randy Arozarena, it was a screecher, really just a fastball right down the middle, and he pulls it. It was right to the shortstop, Gleyber Torres, to end the inning. So they get nothing against Chad Green there, and that was probably their best chance with the top of the order and a man on. They can't do anything with it. Top of the 8th, Oliver Drake comes on and gets a scoreless inning. Giancarlo Stanton flies out to right. Urshela hits a single on a 0-1 count. It was a fastball at 92. And then Gleyber Torres, this word got interesting, on a splitter that he just left right down the middle. Torres almost took him out of the park, and thankfully Petco Park held the ball in basically in the outfield and prevented any runs from him coming across. It was caught by Kiermaier, and then he strikes out Brett Gardner on a 7-pitch at-bat. A lot of splitters, pretty much, just splitters and fastballs. That's all he's got. The fastball at about 92, 93, and the splitter at 84, 85. And definitely won't go for more than an inning, but is a good kind of change of pace guy that can get you a clean inning, as he did tonight. Kept it a 4-3 game going into the bottom of the 8th. Couple of moves. They take Luke Voit out for the defensive replacement. They go LeMahieu at first base, Tyler Wade at second. Zach Britton coming on for New York. Ji-Man Choi grounds out to second base. We'll see. It was a lefty-on-lefty first pitch sinker, and that's Britton's thing. Then Manny Margot starts off 0-1 and then takes 4 straight sinkers and gets on. And it looks like, that is all he throws. I did not realize he throws nothing but sinkers. So Margot walks. Mike Brasso hits for Joey Wendell to get the righty-on-lefty action, and he grounds into a fielder's choice. A little bit of bobble from whoever was at second base, but Margot ended up getting called out. So, could have gone a little different, but they didn't. At least Brasso runs it out, and Willie Damas strikes out. It was just a sinker, down and away, and he just couldn't help but chase it. So that leaves a man on first. So, they leave another man on the bases. So going into the 9th, it was 4-3 Yankees, and this is where it got really interesting. John Curtis coming on for the Yankees. Brasso moves to third base, by the way. Higashioka on a first pitch fastball hits a single to center, and boy, we were just getting started. DJ LeMahieu walks first and second. Then Aaron Judge strikes out for the first out. Then Aaron Hicks, an RBI single, and you could kind of tell the game was kind of over at that point. That made it 5-3. LeMahieu to second, Hicks to first. Then Tyler Wade walks to load the bases with only 1 out, mind you, and then on a 2-2 count was a slider just right down the middle at 86 mile an hour. And Giancarlo Stanton tees up on it, 411 feet to center field. A grand salami that makes it 9-3 Yankees. I didn't know if I wanted to go grand salami or grand slam. It's not a positive thing, but ended up going with the grand salami. So that makes it 9-3 Yanks, and of course the game is over at that point. A 6-run game. Aroldis Chapman sits down, and Luis Cessa gets up and warms instead. But no, we are not even close to being finished with this inning. Gio Urshela pops out to shortstop, so there's out number 2, and then Gleyber Torres singles. So at that point, John Curtis gets 2 outs, 5 runs on 4 hits, 2 walks, a strikeout, a home run, 42 pitches, 24 for strikes. After that outing, John Curtis's playoff ERA is at 67.5. So Not great for him there. And then Shane McClanahan, the first Major League pitcher ever to make his debut in the postseason, comes on. Gleyber Torres, I think he was mad because Curtis, who had no control on his pitches, half of them were for strikes, threw up and into him. So Torres takes off on the first pitch from McClanahan, fine. And then it was Brett Gardner, and he reaches on an infield single, so it's first and third. And I mean, boy, McClanahan was whipping it. The how do you say it? The pitching motion is not the cleanest, but I mean that fastball gets there in a hurry. They were all at about 98, 99, and it looks like that was all he threw. But a 4-seam and 2-seam fastball. So the Gardner infield single, it was just kind of a bloop. And then McClanahan and Lau kind of ran into each other. Comedy of errors continues. First and third, Higashioka walks to load the bases. It was a 9-pitch at-bat. All fastballs again. And then a 2-seam throws as slow as 87, by the way. And then DJ LeMahieu grounds out to the pitcher, and then where he got the ground out, the 2-seamer at 91. So I mean, kind of like a changeup, but not quite. I mean, I don't know exactly what distinguishes it from being a 2-seam fastball or a changeup. I mean, with a lot of movement in high 80s, low 90s, probably just about the same thing. But a fastball about 98, and they're saying he's not topping out at 98. That's just where he's at, I guess, for control purposes. But I mean, this guy can really rip it. I believe a first-round pick of 2018 from USF, so the local product in there. Good to see him. I'm not sure why we didn't get him earlier. I mean, looking at some of the other guys, I mean, no disrespect to Ryan Sheriff or anything like that, but why weren't we seeing Shane McClanahan before then? But I don't know. Gets the out there in his Major League debut again. First ever do it in the playoffs for a pitcher. It's fine. I was surprised to make the roster, and we'll see if he comes into play later in the series. I think Kevin Cash was considering going to a position player if McClanahan couldn't get the outs. So I don't know. From a bullpen standpoint, basically everyone is in play for tomorrow. I would say save for Curtis, and if they want to be particularly careful with Thompson, 2 innings of 21 pitches, they can sit him down, but I would assume he'd be in play, as would Drake and McClanahan, although I don't think they want to use McClanahan, at least in a close game. Bottom of the ninth, in a 9-3 game, Luis Sessa comes on. Kiermaier grounds out to short. Perez flies out to center. Yandy Diaz works a walk the first time he gets aboard in the game, and then Brandon Lau for the final out, strikes out swinging. So that did it. 9-3. Yanks take game 1. Rays will have to win 3 of 4. It will be Glasnow v. Devi Garcia tomorrow. On Wednesday, we know it'll be Morton v. Masahiro Tanaka. Final takeaways for the game. Blake Snell, too many non-competitive pitches. 5 innings, a 4-run ball, I think is not the worst, but definitely not, I guess, what maybe you'd be hoping for. Thompson, he used to get 2 scoreless innings. Drake kind of slides by and gets 1 scoreless. And then John Curtis ended up blowing the game. A guy who's been so good for the Rays this year. Probably, I don't know what the worst outing of his Major League career. It's got to be worst inning easily for the Rays. I mean, I think 11 men came to the plate. It was an absolute disaster. And then from an offensive standpoint, the game was really left on the field when Margot struck out with the bases loaded. That came in the, let's take a look here, Manny Margot. That came in the 5th inning against Garrett Cole, and Cole went on to pitch another inning, so that hurt. Yandy Diaz, who leads off, you got to do better than 0 for 4. Brandon Lau 0 for 3 with 2 walks, that hurt. Arozarena, he's huge. He's going to bat third probably the rest of the series, maybe play the outfield. He's going to be a big part of this 3 for 4, including a home run. G-Man Choi got a home run in his return back. Let's see, his first hit since September 12th. So good to see Choi back in the mix. A potential candidate to lead off tomorrow as well. If not, maybe Meadows. And then towards the bottom, a whole lot of nothing really from Wendell, Adames, Kiermaier, Zanino. Only 2 hits between those 4 guys. So that's about it. Bullpen was fine outside of Curtis, and that was fine. To hold the Yankees scoreless for that long was pretty huge, with Snell giving you 5. And then the offense got to do better, 3 runs. Ultimately, the Yankees finished 9 runs on 15 hits. The Rays, 3 runs on 6 hits. Well, before we preview tomorrow's game, we'll just briefly go over the other game today. Playoff action, the Astros 10-5 over the Athletics. The Athletics had leads of 3-0 and 5-3 and blew them both. It was a sixth inning that got started by an error by Marcus Semien, which should have been the third out. They ended up putting the Astros, 4 runs in the inning, and that made it 7-5 after 6. And then they would tack on a couple more. They went crazy. Was McCullers giving them 4. Chris Bassett for the A's gave him 4 as well, so a couple of short starts. But home runs aplenty. Correa hits 2 home runs. Alex Bregman hits 1. And then for the Athletics, it was Davis hitting 1, Matt Olson hits 1, and Sean Murphy hits 1. So 6 total home runs in the game. Astros take a 1-game-to-none lead. The winner of that series will play, obviously, the winner of the Yankees and Rays series. And then tomorrow, a couple of series getting underway in the National League at 2 p.m. tomorrow. The Braves and Marlins. It'll be Sandy Alcantara for the Fish and Max Fried for the Braves. Money line right now is Braves minus 200. I would imagine Atlanta will probably take that one. Game 2 for Astros and A's, Framber Valdez, who's been good, I think, for Houston, versus Sean Manaea. We all remember him from the wild card game last year, going for the A's. A's minus 116. I don't know, a toss-up, but if the Astros win that game, they're probably taking that series. And then at 9:38, the Padres and Dodgers. It's undecided still for San Diego v. Walker Buehler of the Dodgers. I would probably take the Dodgers in that one. Looks like Mike Clevenger could end up being coming back. I know Dinelson Lamet is out as well, so the top 2 starting pitchers are out. Somehow they scratched their way in a best of 3 against the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they got kind of lucky, but the offense is really good and they came through. I think they're a little bit overmatched against the Dodgers, and they'll go on to play the winner of the Marlins and Braves, which to me, that's kind of a toss-up. I'm interested to see kind of the starting pitchers past Max Fried and Ian Anderson. I know, I don't know who was going to go Game 3 against the Reds, but after that, I don't know. But I know the Marlins have some good starting pitchers: Sandy Alcantara, Sixto Sanchez, and I know they've got a couple other youngsters behind that. Braves will probably take Game 1, and they'll go from there. See if maybe the Marlins can go on a magical run. They've never lost a postseason series, by the way. And then again, for Astros and Athletics, do or die, I would say, for the A's. If they don't win, I don't see how they win 3 straight against the Astros team that is red hot right now, put it that way. And then the final game tomorrow at 8:10 on TBS once more. The Yankees and Rays, Deivi Garcia minus Tyler Glasnow. Right now the line is Tampa Bay minus 113, so narrow in favor of the Rays. I think going into tonight's game it was minus 140 in favor of the Yanks, and that makes sense that would be with Garrett Cole on the mound. Before we talk about that game, I know I'm all over the place. Just want to talk about the roster moves. The pitchers, they ended up going, I think, with 13. They loaded up on position players, which I don't understand. Starting pitchers for the Rays, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, Charlie Morton, Ryan Yarbrough, and that was it. And then from the relievers, from the right side of the pen, you got Nick Anderson, Diego Castillo, John Curtis, Oliver Drake, Peter Fairbanks, Aaron Slegers, and Ryan Thompson. And then from the left-handed side of the bullpen, you have just a couple guys: Aaron Loop, Shane McClanahan, and that's it. Just 2 left-handed relievers, which I was kind of surprised to see. They leave Ryan Sheriff and Josh Fleming off again. So the Josh Fleming thing to me was surprising. Their only bulk guy is Aaron Slegers, who probably goes 3 at a time. So I guess they're thinking a lot of starters in relief. Pitchers pitching, maybe 4 games in 5 days, however that's going to go. So we'll see from that. Tomorrow, by the way, I mean, pretty much everyone's in play. Nick Anderson, Diego Castillo come in, obviously, for a win or even in a close game. You can't let the Yanks go up 2-0. Oliver Drake can maybe pitch again. Pete Fairbanks in the A pen. And then from the left side of the pen, I don't understand just 2 guys, Aaron Loop and McClanahan, but they're going to go with that. And then Thompson maybe, and then Slegers. I'm not quite sure what the plan is for him. They go with 2 catchers again, Zanino and Perez. Infield, Adames, again, everyday shortstop. Brasso can play, anywhere from first, third, outfield. They've had him at shortstop, gets practice in drills, but not in a game. G-Man Choi, the first baseman. Brandon Lau, the second baseman. Joey Wendell, kind of the third baseman / shortstop type. And in the outfield, they end up going with 6 outfielders, which I personally didn't understand. Arozarena, which makes sense. Kiermaier makes sense. And then the 4 guys, which I don't understand why they need all 4. Margot, Austin Meadows, Brett Phillips, Hunter Renfroe. So they've got a plan. Brett Phillips, to me, is probably the kind of the designated pinch hitter type guy. Austin Meadows, I know they're going to want to get in the order potentially as soon as tomorrow if he's feeling fine. And then Hunter Renfroe, I guarantee you, will probably be batting cleanup against the lefty. Or no, Tanaka's not a lefty. I don't know what I'm going on about. If the Yankees do have a left-handed starter, it would be Renfroe going up against him. I don't know why I thought Tanaka was a righty. Lefty, he's a righty. I don't know what the Yanks are going to do, though, for after Game 3. I mean, Jay Happ, who I think is a lefty, yeah. And then, I don't know, whoever they go. But I don't know. I don't know exactly the plan for Renfroe now that I'm talking it out. I don't get it. Why it goes 6 outfielders. And then at least ESPN has them listed as DHs. Yanni Diaz and Yoshi Tsutsugo. So I'd imagine Yoshi will be in the lineup tomorrow. Meadows will be in the lineup tomorrow. Obviously, they're going to want to try and get the lefties. Arozarena's probably still be out there. Then, the infield, probably, again, Choi at first, Wendell at third, Lau at second, and then, I don't know, Willie at shortstop. So pretty much the same kind of infield. Maybe Michael Perez catches, but probably Mike Zunino. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I'd imagine it would go. And then I guess the DH at that point, make your pick. Yanni Diaz may not play tomorrow. It would probably be Yoshi Tsutsugo to be the DH. And then, again, your outfield would probably be, that's tough to call. I'd go Arozarena in left, Kiermaier in center, Meadows in right, but you can swip the lefty and righty. But Meadows and Arozarena probably will play the corners. And then on the bench, that would leave you with Margot, Phillips, Renfroe, Yanni Diaz, and Mike Brasso. So you've got a pretty deep bench there, and I guess that was the point of doing that. For the Yankees roster, I don't really know the pitchers, but starting pitching types, let's see, Devi Garcia and Tanaka we know, but Jay Happ, Michael King, and Jordan Montgomery, and also Nick Nelson. So they've got guys that can start. And then in the bullpen, from the right-handed side, they've got Luis Sessa, Chad Green, Jonathan Holder, Michael King, I guess who's listed as a starter, Jonathan Loizaga, and then Adam Ottavino. And then from the left-handed side, they've got Zach Britton, Aroldis Chapman, Chad Green, or I'm getting it mixed up, Jay Happ, and then Jordan Montgomery. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Make of that what you will. I'm not too familiar. They go with 2 catchers, infield as you would expect, outfield as you would expect, not too much. I mean, it's going to be the big guys. I'd imagine they'll still all be in the lineup as it was today. I mean, LeMahieu, Judge, Hicks, Voit, Stanton, Urshela, Torres, Frazier. I mean, these are the guys that are going to play. They're pretty much all righties, 1 through 9. That's just what they're going to do. I guess that's really it against the righty, Devi Garcia. Let's just take a look. The 21-year-old right-hander, let's look at his last couple starts. I know we talked about this last Thursday. His last time out is tune-up September 26th against the Marlins, 6 2/3, a 4-run ball. He's got a couple of 7-inning starts under his belt as well as a 6-inning shutout against the New York Mets. So he's a guy that can go deep in a ball game. I'd imagine, I don't know, kind of protect him. He'll probably just go 5 innings or so, and they'll lean on the bullpen. So the right-hander, again, I would expect Meadows to be in there. I would expect, I don't know, Arozarena will still be in there. Yoshi will be in there, and I would expect Yanni Diaz to be in the bench, and then keep the infield pretty much the exact same. So we will leave it again there. I guess I'll pick the Rays to win tomorrow, even the series 1 game apiece. Tyler Glasnow, hopefully he'll go maybe 6 or 7, and he can give the Rays some length, and the bullpen can play well outside of Curtis as they did tonight. The Rays offense hopefully can scratch out a couple more runs. We'll be on the air tomorrow, probably about the same time as we were tonight, to talk about the game. We'll also talk Bucks. They win over the Chargers and the rest of the NFL. So look forward to doing that again. Hopefully the Rays win. They're going to be in some trouble if they don't. Fingers crossed. As always, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC